Hey everyone, welcome again to Phil's Flix, showing off my latest in accumulations for my collection of both movies, music, as well as some books. So, like to start off with some stuff that I accumulated more recently through eBay online auctions. First is the Do Not Adjust Your Set complete TV series. This, you may recall, is in conjunction with the show At Last, the 1948 show, which was kind of the precursor to Monty Python's Flying Circus. This was the second show that was part of that series that kind of predated Monty Python. So there was At Last, the 1948 show, and then this one, Do Not Adjust Your Set. So I was very, very happy to find this one on eBay. I think this was only about $3 or $4. And it actually has the slipcover too. Small bonus, but I always think that's pretty awesome to find. Next, I have the final Drive-In Delirium Blu-ray that I was looking for. This is Drive-In Delirium with a Vengeance. Once again, that Australian-based trailer compilation series from Umbrella Entertainment. I am glad to now finally have the last in this series. There is actually one more that deals with 60s and 70s film trailers, but I didn't really feel that I needed that one. So this one I'm very glad to have, Drive-In Delirium with a Vengeance Blu-ray. This one was actually one I decided to get just because I'm a huge fan of Brian De Palma, Obsession. This is the Shout, or rather Scream Factory Collector's Edition Blu-ray. Now, I have actually never seen this movie. I kind of bought this never having seen it, but then again, a lot of Brian De Palma films that I have never seen and subsequently saw for the first time, I really enjoyed. So the way I see it, much like I think the last one I did this with was Raising Cain with John Lithgow, and I really enjoyed that. I got the Shout Factory, Scream Factory edition Blu-ray of that, which actually presents Brian De Palma's preferred cut as well as the theatrical version. So this is Obsession from 1976. So he actually released this the same year as Carrie. So I'm definitely interested in watching this for the first time, seeing how it comes out. From what I understand, I have seen the trailer for this many times. In fact, on a lot of the Drive-In Delirium or other trailer compilation Blu-rays and DVDs I've seen, Obsession was often included, and I'm pretty sure, as most people will often say about Brian De Palma, that he is a Hitchcock hack. This film apparently delves into the territory of the film Vertigo quite a lot. So that's actually my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie of all time. So definitely looking forward to checking out Obsession. Another one, believe it or not, I have never seen this film in its entirety. I used to see it almost all the time growing up watching Comedy Central, but I've never actually watched it beginning to end. And considering that she just had a birthday celebration, happy birthday to you, Miss Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. This is the Arrow Video Blu-ray, Region B edition Blu-ray from the UK that I got from eBay. Again, very good quality on this one, remastered for Blu-ray. I only kind of watched the first 20 minutes of it just to see how it runs, but I really wanted to watch more, so I'm definitely hoping to finish this up sooner rather than later. Again, this is from the people who were part of the Groundlings back in the 70s and 80s, you know, the troupe of people that gave us, you know, Phil Hartman, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman himself, John Paragon, who actually played Jambi the Genie on Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and actually co-wrote the screenplay for this, along with Sam Egan and Cassandra Peterson, and he even contributes to an audio commentary on this as well with Cassandra Peterson as well. So I am very, very much looking forward to watching this and definitely enjoying the commentary. Edie McClurg is also part of this. As you know, she plays in this film as well, and she was also part of the Groundlings troupe. And it's just, you know, I'm really, really looking forward to this. This is a cult classic, you know, right up there, even with Rocky Horror Picture Show for all you horror fanatics out there. So Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, the only version I think I need to own of this. If they put out a 4K sometime in the future, maybe, but for right now, I'm happy to have this. This is another one I've only seen bits and pieces of. Jean-Luc Godard's Weekend, the Criterion Blu-ray edition. Now, this film, just from the artwork alone on this is actually a photo that's sideways. This actually appealed to me, this film, just by the look of it. And I had gotten a copy of this from the library locally, and it was a very dull looking print. It was faded, it was scratchy, it was completely unrestored. And this Blu ray version, from what I've seen in just the first 10 minutes, looks magnificent. And this is really, as the trailers on it put it, Jean-Luc Godard's portrayal basically of what it's like to go to hell. This is his portrait of what it's like being in hell. So just from that alone, I'm like, okay, I'm in. But I mean, I was into this a long time ago just because it had come out. It was announced back in, I believe, 2010, 2012. And I could never track down a good priced copy of it on DVD or Blu-ray. So I managed to find this on eBay. I think I only paid about $8 or $9.99 for it, but it is in great condition, and I am definitely looking forward to watching this in its entirety. This one was a big part of my life. For anyone who remembers me in high school and my penchant for doing impressions, you'll remember that one of the best was Austin Powers and Dr. Evil. I bought the Austin Powers Blu-ray collection known as the Shagadelic Edition, loaded with extra mojo. This is all 3 Austin Powers films in slimline Blu-ray cases, packed with bonus features. Now, of course, a lot of the bonus features that are on these came directly from the original New Line Cinema DVDs that were pressed back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but I had never actually owned the Blu-rays of these, and this, I remember, was the very first edition that came out on Blu-ray as a box set. This would have been back in, I want to say, sometime in 2010, 2009, 2008, actually. So this package actually came out in 2008, which is very impressive, and it came to me in very good condition. There's really no anomalies or blemishes to this at all. And I'm just very now happy to own the original 3 Austin Powers films on Blu-ray. Some will say it's a very dated series of films, and there's been a lot of articles I know online saying, why Hollywood won't hire Mike Myers anymore. But you know what? I don't care. I love these films. These films gave me, the ability to do wonderful impressions of the 2 main characters in them. And, they live on Blu-ray for me. So the Austin Powers Shagadelic Edition on Blu-ray. Happy to have that. This one I just got recently, a few days ago, another Mike Myers film, So I Married an Axe Murderer, the 30th Anniversary Edition 4K. Now, this was a film that I came to know mainly from my college roommate, Rusty, who was a big fan of the film. He was always quoting this film left and right. Pipe her down, we gotta pipe her down. And I used to watch this a lot after college. I remember getting it from the library and thinking it was hysterical. And in fact, for the longest time, I had a digital copy of it downloaded as a free movie from one of my older Blu-ray movies that came with a free code that gave you like 3 free movies additionally to download. And So I Married an Axe Murderer was one of the options for those films. So now I have the 30th Anniversary 4K, which doesn't have too many features, but it does come with 2 original theatrical trailers, plus 28 deleted scenes, totaling a little over a half hour. So some of them are forgettable, some of them are kind of funny, just seeing, alternate takes and different lines and different characters even, but still it's a pretty funny Mike Myers movie. Those of you who, knew him best from Austin Powers or Wayne's World, this is a really good comedy, and if you've never seen it before, I highly recommend it. So I Married an Axe Murderer. And then the piece de resistance from eBay wins recently, the Halloween Anchor Bay limited edition 2-disc DVD collection set. This came out in 1999 from the little-known boutique company Anchor Bay. They're still in business, but back in the late 90s, This was the label that was putting out older films that had never seen the light of day in a digital format. And they were the very first to put out John Carpenter's classic from 1978, Halloween, in perfect time for when the film H2O had just come out in theaters. And a lot of people were saying at the time, hey, DVD is the new thing now. This film really needs to be on DVD. And it's really an amazing box set. It actually comes with a postcard featuring Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers. And this thing is untouched. It's still in part of the package. It's got 2 sets of liner notes. And the reason it's got 2 sets of liner notes, or in this case, chapter notes, is because, as I said earlier, this is a limited edition DVD. This not only came with the theatrical version of Halloween, but it also came with the television version of Halloween. That's right, this was one of the very first releases to include a television version of a movie that had additional footage. The footage for this is interesting because they filmed this while they were making Halloween 2. Halloween 2 hadn't been released yet in the year 1981, but it was because that NBC had actually bought the rights to show the original Halloween on television. They needed necessary footage to pad out the running time because they were going to cut all the, nudity and profanity and the gore and the stuff. I mean, gore for what it was back in those early days of showing horror movies on television, but still, I am so happy to have this set. This is not an easy set to find. I actually got this from a seller in Canada, if you can believe that. And as I said, limited edition. That's number 4834 of, I can't remember exactly how many of these were pressed. I want to say possibly 2 or 3. No, wait a minute. 4834. So maybe about 5,000 of these were pressed, give or take. I don't know the numbers for sure. However, the fact that I now own this horror classic on the limited edition DVD Anchor Bay format, yeah, I am pretty happy about that. And as you can see, you got that lenticular cover thing going there with Michael Myers' mask and the knife coming in there. Very cool stuff. So, some things recently I purchased through Amazon. I purchased the 4K of Atomic Blonde from 2017 with Charlize Theron. I recently watched this with Kelly, and it blew both of us away. The film is actually based on a graphic novel, apparently, or a comic book series of the same name, and I've never read it. But what really drew me to this film was its soundtrack. It is jam-packed with 80s music that I love. It features my favorite song of all time, The Politics of Dancing by Reflex, and the film starts and ends with David Bowie music. You can't beat that. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to tell you what songs they are. You're just going to have to see it for yourself, but highly recommend it. Very happy to now own it on 4K, Atomic Blonde. This was one that got announced by the director himself of this classic, American Pop. Ralph Bakshi announced this on both his Facebook and his Instagram page that it was finally coming to Blu-ray through Sony. Now, unfortunately, the film itself is a very basic copy. It is nothing more than the film itself remastered in high definition. But you know what? All the music from this film is intact, and that's good enough for me. It's presented in widescreen, high definition, and it looks and sounds beautiful. I recently rewatched it the other night, and it truly looked magnificent. If you've never seen this film, track it down. Highly recommend it. It is a beautiful, beautiful story about just a series of generations of people that are involved with music, whether it involves them meeting their first love, going through war, going through first jobs, going through just, absolute chaos in their lives. Music was always a part of the surrounding world with them. And this film has a lot of music that just starts from the early 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up to the 80s, because this film came out in 1981. Give American Pop a look. You will not regret it. Then I got the Pam Grier double features here from Arrow Video on Amazon. Coffee and Foxy Brown. I am a big fan of Pam Grier, and I had never actually owned her work on DVD or Blu-ray other than Jackie Brown, directed by Quentin Tarantino, because I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. But these two, by the legendary Jack Hill, were put out by Arrow Video a couple years ago, and they have some very good bonus features on them. Some of them archival, some of them new, but the fact that they include reversible cover art, so you got newly commissioned art on one side and then the originals, which I flipped them to, on the other side, so you get to have the original poster art to look at whenever you want to watch the movie. So two very good Pam Grier double features here. Coffee, Foxy Brown. If you've never seen them, see them. And then finally, this one actually was not an Amazon purchase. This was actually a special sale they were having, I believe, on Vinegar Syndrome's website. Through the company Fun City Editions, I got the Blu-ray of Smile, a film that basically is a satirical look at beauty pageants from 1975? Is that 75? Yeah, 1975, directed by Michael Ritchie, 1 year before he did The Bad News Bears. Now, this film has one of my personal favorite actors of all time, Bruce Dern, who does a brand new interview on it, which I watched and enjoyed. But there's another very special reason for me wanting to own this film. This film stars Denise Nickerson, the actress who played Violet Beauregard in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And as some of you may know, Denise Nickerson was my very first crush, and sadly, she is no longer with us, but she starred in this film when she was in her mid-teens, and it's one of the last films she ever did. She only did one or two films after this, did a few television shows, but then she had pretty much retired from acting around the late 1970s. But she has a small role in this film, and I remember when I first saw it for the very first time, they had just put it out on DVD in the summer of 2004 before I started my junior year of college, and she looked gorgeous in it when I first saw it. Still looks gorgeous, preserved on Blu-ray in high definition. So if you're a fan of satirical comedies, this is right up there with, I believe, Michael Ritchie's previous film, The Candidate, with Robert Redford. Again, this was 1 year before he did The Bad News Bears. Tons of up-and-comers are in this film, including Annette O'Toole, Colleen Camp, and even, if you can believe this, Melanie Griffith. And oddly enough, if you watch the opening credit sequence, Denise Nickerson is above all of them. Who would have thought? Next up, some stuff that I purchased recently from Zia Records. I found a copy of Capricorn 1, one of my favorite sci-fi films, on VHS. Now, I do own this, both on a special edition DVD and a Region B Blu-ray special edition, but there's a reason I bought this VHS tape. This VHS tape was put out by Magnetic Video, and Magnetic Video, if you know the history of VHS tapes and Betamax, Magnetic Video was one of the very first companies to mass produce video cassettes for home viewing, and they pretty much got as much films that were part of the Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox film libraries. So as you can see on the back there, there's a lot of white space. That's pretty much because they were novices in how to market VHS tapes for home videos. So what else were they going to put on there but just a small blurb about it? There's not even a cast list. They don't even mention the cast in the plot. It's all saved for the front, which basically reuses the original poster art, or one of the original pieces of art for the poster. But this VHS came out, it was actually produced in 1980, and it actually still runs. I put it in the VCR and it works just fine, but Zia Records had this for, I think, just about $6.99. I had to grab it. I mean, it just, once I saw the title right there, and I knew, I was like, wait a minute, I think I know which version this is. I think it's Magnetic Video. And sure enough, I was right. So very, very happy to have the original produced VHS copy of Capricorn 1. Another one I decided to check out recently and finally bought on Blu-ray, Shoot 'Em Up from 2007. This film I remember coming out when I had just started working, I think, almost a full year in my first job here in radio as a traffic producer and reporter here in Las Vegas. And I remember wanting to see this film very badly. Unfortunately, a lot of critics and a lot of friends of mine told me it wasn't good, or they heard it was just very, very bad. So I never ended up seeing it. But watching it at home, I gotta tell you, this is a great film, and it deserves to be watched in high definition, which is why I bought the Blu-ray. It is loud, it is bullet-ridden, it is action-packed. I mean, it actually spoofs and satirizes the idea of action films very well, almost like feeling like you're watching that Arnold Schwarzenegger 90s comedy Last Action Hero, which is pretty much a spoof of all Arnold Schwarzenegger's films up to that point. But this is a very well-made film, great direction, great cast. Who would have thought Paul Giamatti playing a villain would actually work? It works. Monica Bellucci and Clive Owen together are perfect in it. Very well made. And in fact, Michael Davis, the guy who actually directed this film, he had done a lot of like teen movies up to that point. He did a movie I'll never forget watching a lot in my freshman year of college called 100 Girls, about this guy who has like a one-night stand in a all-girls dorm elevator that gets stuck. And he tries to find within this dorm of 100 girls his, as he puts it, kismetic destiny. He also did this romantic comedy called 8 Days a Week with Kerry Russell from Felicity. And I mean, again, it just blows my mind to think this is the same guy who did those movies directing this kind of film. Hey, versatility, right? Another one that I wanted to own on Blu-ray for the very first time, and I've owned this one several times before, a Disney classic and personal favorite, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Now, Bedknobs and Broomsticks I had originally owned on DVD that presented the film in its director's cut version with a lot of old cut footage replaced into the film for an anniversary screening that they did for it for the 25th anniversary back in 1996. And this film does present the film in a nice high-def presentation. However, it presents it in the theatrical edition. I'm okay with that because I actually own this on Laserdisc now. I own the 25th anniversary edition on Laserdisc of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which is the version that has all the stuff put back into it. And I'm very happy to at least they have most of that footage as deleted music numbers and deleted scenes. It's not everything that was cut, but it's some, and it's a nice collection. So pretty good package, and I thought, you know what? Even though I do have a Disney Plus subscription, it's always good to keep having physical media accessible in your film library. This is another one that actually is not on Disney Plus, and it's a personal favorite of both mine and my friend Jeff's. The 1973 comedy The World's Greatest Athlete, starring Jan Michael Vincent, John Amos, and Tim Conway, and Roscoe Lee Brown. This is an interesting film about a young boy from the jungle who turns out to have the talent and skill to be the world's greatest athlete, as seen by a fledgling college coach and his assistant while they're on a vacation in the jungle. They notice how well he is at running, how well he is at throwing and catching, so they figure, you know what, let's bring this boy back to the States and train him to be the world's greatest athlete. And it's just a nice, kitschy Disney comedy, what I remember Leonard Maltin referring to as a gimmick comedy. But it's actually, I found out, it's one of the few films that actually showcase the idea of decathlon events at that time. This was the early 1970s, and not a whole lot of movies had been made about that subject, much less a Disney film. But it's got some good laughs, and believe it or not, this film has a few bonus features. It's got the original theatrical trailer, and it's got a small little outtake reel. Only a few Disney films that were released on DVD that, again, were not put on Disney Plus contain these additional bonus features. I remember the Boatniks was another one that had both the theatrical trailer as well as an outtake reel. And these bonus features were never put on any other Disney movie, which baffles me. They were so selective, where I guess whoever was producing these just were like, let's see, hey, we have this theatrical trailer and an outtake reel, we could, put this on the DVD, it might be a good selling point. They couldn't do that for other Disney films, the Herbie movies especially. But at least I now have a copy of this on DVD. Again, not on Disney Plus, The World's Greatest Athlete. Now this one I was very lucky to come by. As you may recall, I had recently seen the movie The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond for the very first time with Kelly and absolutely fell in love with it. I managed to find the out-of-print Anchor Bay 25th anniversary edition of the DVD for The Jazz Singer, and on the same day when I went to a used bookstore, I found the novelization as well. Can you believe this? On the very same day, Jazz Singer DVD, Jazz Singer the novelization. I don't get that lucky usually, but someone was smiling on me that day. And then finally from Zia, I got the complete series of the show Pan Am from 2011 to 2012. Now, mainly I wanted to buy this because I was planning on seeing about getting it autographed by Christina Ricci, who's supposed to be appearing at the next Hollywood show in about 2 weeks in Burbank. Unfortunately, I will not be attending. I decided the truth of the matter was I really can't afford it because there's just going to be so many people appearing there that I really want to meet. And I kind of was starting to feel overwhelmed by it all, so I just decided, you know what? I can stand a pass on it. I'll just save my tickets for another trip in the future. It's going to be okay. It's not going to be a tragedy if I don't meet these people and tell them how much their work means to me. They know regardless, but I was very happy to track this down. I know that it got re-released recently, I think by Mill Creek Entertainment, but this is the original Sony DVD, which has a couple decent bonus features on it, and unbeknownst to me, I mean, I wouldn't have known it at the time because Stranger Things wasn't out yet, but David Hopper from Stranger Things is on this show, and he looks a lot different than you're used to seeing him from Stranger Things. But this was also the show that introduced American audiences to Margot Robbie. This was her first big show in the United States, and it's really what caught the attention of director Martin Scorsese to cast her in The Wolf of Wall Street, and then she subsequently got Suicide Squad, and well, the rest is history, or as they say, the word is Barbie. Anyway, very happy to have Pan Am, the complete series, on DVD. Another thing I got from Zia, and this was a big surprise to me. I had been on the hunt for a couple of old Stephen King books that I was a fan of, but had never owned. My mom had owned quite a lot of classic Stephen King books, most of them first editions, but one that she did not own, and I did manage to find it at Zia Records, an original hardback version of Firestarter with the dust jacket. A little bit torn, but in this book, this thing only cost me $7.99. This is an original hardback edition of Stephen King's Firestarter. I loved the movie with Drew Barrymore and David Keith and George C. Scott and Martin Sheen. I love the soundtrack by Tangerine Dream. I really wanted to be able to read the original novelization. I had gotten it before at the library, but never had the time to read it. But now that I own an original hardback of Firestarter, I mean, that's kind of the push that I need now to really sit down and read this bad boy. So one last thing, this one I might have to explain a little bit. Back in the 80s, especially during the mid to late 80s, there was a wonderful trio of producers named of Stock, Aitken, Waterman. And they produced a lot of musicians during that time that a lot of us have come to know as superstars of the new wave Euro scene. These people included people like Rick Astley. It also included Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, Dead or Alive, And a lot of these bands were produced by that team, and the hit singles that they produced were put into this immense box set that had been put out a couple years ago just in the United Kingdom. And this box set was not cheap by any means necessary. However, I managed to track down a copy on eBay from a guy and swore that I would win this auction. I will win this auction. I'm going to win this auction. I never got bid against for it, and I actually won this box set called Say I'm Your Number One Stock Aitken Waterman, the singles box set. This is a massive box set that contains a collection of singles put together, including some bonuses, including a big liner note booklet that contains pretty much a history and description of all the singles included in this box set, a specially written thank you, which comes directly from, who's this that actually writes that? This is from actually Pete Waterman himself, that he writes the introduction here to the booklet. But each one of these singles is produced by the team of Stock Aitken Waterman. It's got Divine, You Think You're a Man. It's got Hazel Dean, Whatever I Do, Wherever I Go. It's got Dead or Alive, You Spin Me Round Like a Record. This is, which one is this? This is Contract of the Heart, Stop This Rumor, I believe is what it's called. Let me just double check that. Yeah. So Contract of the Heart, and you know what, let me double check there. Here. Contract of the Heart, spelt like this. That's the band. Spelt like this. Contract of the Heart. I don't know all of these. I'm not too familiar with every single one of these, so some of these are brand new to me. I'm going to be listening to some of these for the very first time. Princess, Say I'm Your Number One. This is, let's see, The 3 Degrees with The Heaven I Need. Following that, Haywood with Getting Closer. This is a cover of the Rick Astley song Whenever You Need Somebody by O'Shea Brown, or O'Shea Brown, however you pronounce it. Next we have Brilliant with the song Love is War. We got another one that you probably remember, Bananarama with Venus. As you can see there, presents all the remixes. Essentially every single one of these singles contains 1 or 2 songs and their original version along with the remixes that were done for it. This one is, what is this one? Let me turn the box around here. This is Mondo Kane with New York Afternoon. Next we have Jed Million, I believe that is. Yes, Jed Million with Second Time Around. Mandy Smith with I Just Can't Wait. A great duo back that time, Mel and Kim with Respectable. Then we have Carol Hitchcock with Get Ready. Samantha Fox, one of my personal favorites, Nothing Gonna Stop Us Now, or Stop Me Now. Sunita, who was also an actress back in the early 80s with Toy Boy. Stock Aitken Waterman collaboration called Roadblock. Laura Branigan with Shattered Glass. Didn't know that she had a Stock Aitken Waterman produced song. Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. You know the concept of Rickrolled? That's where it all began. Next up we've got Edwin Starr with Whatever Makes Our Love Grow. Following that we've got Michael Davidson with Turn It Up. Brother Beyond with The Harder I Try. Sabrina with All of Me. This is another one of my favorites. This is Sig Sputnik with Success. Next we've got Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan collaborating with Especially For You. Donna Summer, one of my personal favorites. Donna Summer with This Time I Know It's For Real. Sonia with You'll Never Stop Me Loving You. Lonnie Gordon with Happening All Over Again. Oops. Happening All Over Again. Boy Crazy with That's What Love Can Do. And then the last one in here was actually a bonus disc. This was the Upstroke with Agents Aren't Airplanes. I believe that's... The Upstroke is the name of the song. So Agents Aren't Airplanes is the band, with the Upstroke being the song. This box set also contained a collection of miniature postcards of cover art. So you got Dead or Alive right there. You've also got Princess and Sig Sig Sputnik, plus a sticker sheet, still fully intact. Again, an incredible box set that came all the way from the United Kingdom that I was very lucky to nab off of eBay at a very good price. So very happy to have all of these in my collection. And as always, there's still a lot to come. There will be much, much more to come. So as always, I thank you for tuning in and checking out all the new stuff I've added to my collection. Until then, you stay tuned. Have a good one.